Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our host for the evening, Seth Meyers.
How's everybody doing? I'm Seth Meyers, your host for the evening. I also hosted this show in 2012, and I can tell you that despite doing an excellent job, it led to no modeling work. Not a single job in the last 5 years, and I would have said yes to anything. I could have been the ugliest brother in one of those Tommy Hilfiger ads. I mean, really? Ralph Lauren couldn't throw me on a horse? And it didn't have to be print. I would have been in a Rick Owens runway show. I am happy to show my genitals. Ask anyone. So why did I agree to host again? Well, because I was asked by two people, Anna Wintour and Diane von Furstenberg, and they are both very convincing. If you know them, they are very convincing. For example, Anna doesn't so much ask you to do something as she makes the request in the form of a statement. And she never says you should do something, she says you must. Oh, you simply must. It's very effective. And the way Diane asks you to do something is she just talks like you've already said yes. So you're going to host the awards. It will be wonderful. I can't wait. Seriously, I'm just happy that with their powers of persuasion, they chose a life of fashion over a life of crime because they could get me to do anything. We're robbing a bank, and you absolutely must help us. You'll drive the getaway car. It will be wonderful. I can't wait. By the way, a quick thank you to Tom Brown for the beautiful tuxedo I'm wearing this evening. This is my first time wearing Tom Brown, and I feel fantastic. I've always said, and this is never caught on, but Tom Brown really puts the H in Tom. But it's great to be at the CFDA Awards. The CFDAs are called the Oscars of the fashion industry, but definitely just by you guys. And just so you know, that doesn't go both ways. I've never heard anyone on Oscar night say, "Welcome to the CFDAs of movies." Although I'd argue this is better than the Oscars because on this red carpet, when you're asked, "Who are you wearing?" more often than not, the answer is me. And what a red carpet. It was a who's who of fashion and people who thought it was the taxi line at Penn Station. And very fitting to hold this event at the Hammerstein Ballroom here in the Fashion District. We're a block and a half away from 7th Avenue since, true story, 1972 has been known as Fashion Avenue from 26th to 42nd Street. And did you know that since 1972, not one person has referred to it as Fashion Avenue? If you say to a cab driver, "Take me to the corner of 33rd and Fashion Avenue," they legally have the right to rob you. The CFDA has been an organization since 1962, and it's amazing how much fashion trends have changed since then. For example, air travel. Remember when people used to dress up to get dragged down the aisle of a plane? There were some missteps in fashion this year that I want to address. For example, our Chanel right here. Chanel was accused of appropriating indigenous Australian culture for selling a $1,200 boomerang. And I agree it was cultural appropriation, but here was my other problem with the Chanel boomerang. Everything else. What's worse than a $1,000 gift that can't be returned? Did you take back the boomerang? I tried. Although I guess it answers the question, what do you get for the woman who has everything? Because even a woman who has everything doesn't have a boomerang. Anyway, the criticism seems to have died down, but knowing boomerangs, it's got to come back around. But there is something even more ill-advised than the Chanel boomerang, and that's the romp hem. We seen the romp hem? A group has already raised over $360,000 to create a romper for men. It's called a romp hem. And guys, if you're worried it'll be embarrassingly difficult to take off in front of another person, don't worry, you'll never have to. You have to have big balls to wear a romp hem because people will be able to see them. So some sad news. Abercrombie & Fitch has announced that it's putting itself up for sale. Meanwhile, thanks to Donald Trump, the United States has become a banana republic. A quick word of advice for the young men of Abercrombie as you write up your resumes. Try to use terms like sales associate or brand display model, because shirtless foyer boy doesn't always get the interview. Well, it does, but not the kind of interview you want. This year, it's been harder than ever to separate fashion from politics. First Lady Melania Trump made headlines recently after she decided not to wear a head covering while visiting Saudi Arabia, which was especially shocking as her husband wears a head covering literally everywhere. Tonight we'll also honor three incredible women for their activism: Janelle Monáe, Cecile Richards, and Gloria Steinem. And perhaps the most iconic fashion statement of the year were the pussy hats that so many wore during the Women's March. For those who don't know, give it up. Pussy hats are what women wear in response to so many male politicians being dickheads. The international award tonight is going to Demna Gvasalia. Give it up for Demna, everybody. And one of my favorite designs this year was Demna's bag that many pointed out looked like an IKEA bag. And IKEA must have been a little upset when they realized of all their unique designs, the one that inspired a piece of high fashion was their 99-cent bag. Did you hear? Balenciaga has a piece that looks like one of our IKEA products. Was it based on the Dogstorp? The Grand Vulia? No, it was the bag. But most importantly, you guys, Rick Owens will be receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award tonight. Give it up for Rick, everybody. Truly a genius and a visionary behind some of my all-time favorite runway looks. I mean, take a look at this right here. This is one of my favorites, everybody. That's how a 10-year-old dresses to passive-aggressively tell their parents they want to go camping. And who can forget this look? I love it. That was a game changer because it's hard to remember now, but before Rick Owens, you never saw people on the streets of New York wearing someone else's backpack. It just didn't happen. Now you can't walk down Fashion Avenue without passing 9, 10 tandem parachuters. You kids won't remember, but back in the day, if you were walking with your friend, they'd have to walk next to you. And it's a mistake to write off human backpacks as haute couture, because this is job creation. Out of work? Is your only experience standing shirtless in the foyer of Abercrombie? How would you like to be a human backpack? You guys were here on a fantastic night. Thank you so much for being here.